let's go ahead and get started. I know the judge doesn't have a lot of time here. So this is Denton County's Denton County's Property Assessed Clean Energy PACE webinar. I'm Michael Talley, Director of Economic Development for Denton County. And we're joined this morning by Denton County Judge and EDC, as well as Lone Star PACE COO Glenn Silva will be presenting today. A couple of housekeeping items. I do want to go over questions. We will have the chat open the whole time. So there's a button at the bottom of your screen there that says chat. You can put your questions in there. We'll be answering those questions throughout the presentation. So feel free to put your questions in there as they come up. Also, we are recording the webinar today. So if you're not able to stay on the whole time, or you want to share with a colleague or a developer or broker or construction firm, please feel free to do that. So at this time, I want to put up a quick poll question of how familiar you are with the Property Assessed Clean Energy, or PACE as we call it. Have you used it? Are you familiar with the program and guidelines but have never used it? You've heard of the term but not familiar with the guidelines, or you've never heard of the term. And that's the reason we're doing that this morning. We put this in place a few years ago, and we want people to be educated on how to utilize the program. So at this time, I want to turn it over to the judge to do a quick introduction to discuss how Denton County got involved in the program in the first place. Judge?
I was trying to vote on your poll and it said, hello, the hosts can't vote. So it might have skewed the numbers, but I always try to vote. So anyway, it's good. Vote early and often, as everybody says. Well, thank y'all for being here. And Michael and Glenn, I think we got a good presentation to talk about. I can't stay for long because I've got to run to another, I've got to go to a funeral here in a little bit, but this is an important program. And that's why I wanted to make sure I still was able to join us, at least for the beginning of this meeting. And I would just say that anyone who's on the call, or if you watch it later on the recording, feel free to contact Michael or myself or Glenn, and I would be happy to answer any questions as well that if you have any from the county government standpoint or from a public entity standpoint. And I'm really excited about Denton County's relationship with PACE and Lone Star PACE. And I think, it started, and I'll just give y'all just a couple of points as far as history. This started legislatively, it was approved in 2013, but they did some cleanup language and make it very workable here in Texas in 2015. And in those last 6 years, 55 cities and counties have adopted PACE programs to support sustainability and economic development. And I think that's an important thing. We're all about both of those. We're all about sustainability. We're all about economic development. And I think this program is a great conduit, and it marries those two together in a meaningful way. And so Denton County, we adopted PACE program in late 2018, and we did some unique protections that previously had not been implemented by other counties. And so when you create programs, some of them can be created by an area such as a city, and we decided to do the whole county, all 900 square miles. We did a countywide district or PACE district, and we thought that would be better than a patchwork of a bunch of municipalities. And so we did it countywide. And so it was a really good work group. I was very hands-on to that whole thing. And we did, we got input from a large stakeholder group from people from my office. This was back when I was county commissioner, and my staff, other elected officials. We obviously had the commissioner's court unanimously approve this. But it was really after we did some really good homework and a real spirit of partnership with PACE. And we had our tax assessor collector, Michelle French, involved. And we got a lot of advice and counsel from our county tax collection attorney. And so he's been in the business as long as I've been alive. And he's a very wise man, and he reviewed those documents. And we made, I'm very proud to say that Denton County, I believe, has the best PACE program around. And it's got great, it's got, the entity really worked with us, Lone Star really worked with us to make sure it was the best documented, so that we all felt very comfortable for. So So we updated our documents and put in those protections for the taxpayers. And it really has become a template for subsequent programs across the state that are administered by Lone Star PACE. Some of those issues that we just wanted to make sure that were clarified in the language, which was very important to us, was, you know, and they're going to get into more details about that, but I'll kind of give an overview, which was, you know, some of the subordination of the PACE payments to our ad valorem taxes. So make sure that those still get paid, that they're still in the first position. I think that's very important. You know, in the event, you know, of a default or foreclosure, they haven't had a real history of that, but we just want to make sure we put some belt and suspenders in there to make sure that didn't happen. You know, the statutes place PACE loans on par with the city and county taxes, and our documents require all payments to go first to the county and the cities before the PACE lenders are paid off if the property is sold due to unpaid taxes. And so that was a real safeguard that we put in there. And I believe, you know, obviously made the county tax assessor collector and those in commissioner's court and our attorneys who collect the taxes made us all very, very comfortable. And I just really appreciate Lone Star saying, you know what works good for y'all and how do we need to make that work? So I appreciate that. You know, we also did a specific release of liability and indemnification language required in the property owner and lender contracts. And so, you know, although the statutes provide some protections for the elected officials and the staff, they do not cover all the scenarios. So we added language to ensure that the county and the cities would have no cost or liability with regards to the PACE program. So so the cities were very pleased with that, and obviously the county as well. So that was great. But, you know, this is a relatively new program and we understand that. And that's why I'm so glad that y'all are watching this video today and participating in this video. And that's why it's important to me, because we really do want to have this program utilized fully. You know, that's why we took the time and energy and effort to make sure it's really a best practice. And I believe that it is. And we're best practices so many times here in Denton County. But we really want to help get the word out, and we want to get the word out to our real estate community, our economic development community, to our cities as a talking point. That, and I would just ask, as your county judge, I would just ask that y'all help us be champions of this program and become familiar with it, and help familiarize your different property owners and developers and the real estate community, your bankers about this program. So I think it's really, it's an undertold story, as we would say. And I think that's part of our effort today, is help educate people. You know, today here in the county, we've had one large multifamily PACE project that's been completed here in Denton County. And there are a number of other projects that are in the works. And so we're super excited about that. You know, this is a terrific program. And it's a great way to attract, you know, private dollars here to the county as we upgrade and reinvigorate properties. It doesn't have to be a very old or tired property. You know, you can look for savings and improvements for energy efficiency and other things, even in relatively new projects. You know, especially because these are amortized over such so long. This is critical infrastructure that's amortized for building for a long period of time. And so it's not just going into a dilapidated structure and trying to redevelop that. That is obviously an easy win, but it's even newer projects as well. And so anyway, I'm going to let Michael and Glenn take it from here. Again, if they can't answer any questions, or if you're a public official or just anyone that's on this call, man, I definitely would love to help answer any questions that the cities may have, because they're our wonderful partners. But if anyone has any questions, you know, my door is always open. We'll be happy to help you out. And again, this is a worthy enterprise. I'm excited that I believe that we have the best program around, but we need to get it past the one case here. We need to get it, expand the utilization of it. And so anyway, I think it's just a great thing. It's a great thing for the county to be involved in. So,
well, Judge, before you go, Judge, we have to just thank you and Michael for your advocacy for the program, because it is so comforting to have a partner such as yourself in Denton County that it makes our job a lot easier, and we just welcome, you know, your support. So thank
Thank
you.
you. You know, and I sold real estate for almost 10 years here in the county. And I wish I had this tool, you know, working with my buyers and sellers. And I wish I had this tool years ago, because I think when people are looking at making some capital investments in a property, you know, we didn't have that tool back then. And I think this is just one of those tools. And if you're a real estate professional, you know, to be a subject matter expert, you need to have these type of resources at your fingertips. It really sets you apart as an industry leader to become familiar with the different programs to help your property owners, your clients, with their investments. And so I think this really, you know, becoming a subject matter expert on this and knowing more about it would really help overcome some objections that people may have on a property because they have to make some investments. So it helps obviously on the salesmanship part of it, but it also really helps you with just being a subject matter expert and really giving a full service to your clients by helping them avail themselves of wonderful programs such as Lone Star PACE. So anyway, thank you. Thank you for the kind comments. I'm going to run, and best wishes. Talk to you later.
Thank you, Judge.
Bye-bye. Appreciate it. Okay, so at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Glenn in just a moment, but we're going to share the results of the poll real quick, just to give you an idea. Not everyone was in the room when we put it up, but seems like some of you are familiar with it. A little over 60% are familiar with it or have used it. And then about 36% have either heard the term and maybe familiar with the guidelines, or just heard the term and not really familiar with the program. So that's really why we're doing this today. So at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Glenn, and he'll do a presentation and we'll ask some questions throughout. Glenn?
Thank you so much, Michael. Let me get this up and going. Everybody see that? Well, again, thank you so much, Michael and Judge Eads, for putting this on, because this is what it's about, is getting the word out and having people hear and understand what PACE is all about. Well, a little bit of Lone Star PACE. I'll make this quick because I want to get to the meat of it. But we're PACE administrator for the program. And what does that mean? Well, there's two administrators in the state of Texas that help assist counties and cities with the adoption and implementation of the PACE program. And basically, we are the arms and legs of the cities and counties that adopt the program. At the end of the day, we get a lot of questions saying, okay, is this going to cost us any dollars? And we tell them, no, there's no additional cost. There's no additional staffing you have to worry about. And that's what's important for the cities to understand, and the counties. We're registered municipal advisor. We are overseen by the Securities Exchange Commission. We also have the Texas State Securities Board oversee us, and also the Municipal Securities Rulemaking Board. Well, what does that mean? Basically, we're held accountable at a higher level to make sure we take care of our clients. And that's what it's all about. I put real quick where we actually service our counties and cities within Texas. I'm happy to report that we have several more that are looking at opting into the program. And we look forward to adding more counties and cities so we can spread the message on PACE. All right. So what is PACE? I know a lot of you, about 36%, haven't heard about it, but it is a simple and effective way to finance any type of energy, water efficiency, and renewable upgrades to a commercial real estate development. And I mentioned commercial real estate because across the country, we do have programs in various states that have adopted not only a commercial program, but for residential. We get a lot of calls saying, can I put solar on my house? And unfortunately in Texas, it's strictly commercial. The one thing that I want you to focus on this slide is the fact that property owners enter into a voluntary assessment, which carries basically the same status as a property tax. And that's the key, I guess, difference between a PACE loan and various other financing options out there. And it promotes, conservation initiatives at no cost to the taxpayers. Again, the state wanted to adopt a program that could help facilitate a lot of sustainability across the state, but at no cost to taxpayers.
Hey, Glenn,
Yes, sir.
can you clarify on the voluntary assessment? Is someone volunteering to raise their taxes on their property?
You know, Michael, that's a great question. I'm glad you brought that up because I think we had that question a while back. But the answer is no. It doesn't have anything to do about adding additional taxes to their property. What it is about a vehicle of allowing the property owner to have access to much more attractive financing for these type of components. But that's a great question. Thank you.
Great.
All right. What are the benefits of PACE? Well, I think the judge had mentioned several, but you know, obviously it helps utility bills, reduces utility bills when you add more and more efficient type of energy saving components associated with the property. You know, lowers the carbon footprint. We have a lot of people that are saying we have to lower our emissions, and this helps that. Regarding commercial real estate, I think we have a lot of brokers and people in real estate on the call. It allows property owners to have access to 100% financing, both on the soft and hard costs associated with PACE assessment. And you can roll in our costs as well. Regarding the county and some of the benefits, it increases property values when you have properties that are either sitting there, older buildings that can be renovated and be upgraded with into a newer sustainable building. That helps. Regarding new construction, you can have PACE work on that, and also it helps on new construction regarding going above code. So I think in Denton you use the 2015 code. If you can go above that, you can utilize it for new construction as well. One thing right now, non-recourse, that's a big one as well. So
Glenn, can you talk about that a little bit? Maybe some people aren't familiar with the recourse, non-recourse.
Sure, Michael.
And why that's kind of a little bit interesting on this program.
It is because we underwrite on the PACE, the lenders, they actually underwrite to the property, not to the borrower or to those items that are being installed. So that's why it's a much more secure lien or assessment on the property, and that's why it's non-recourse. It goes to the property. Thanks for that question. All right, types of PACE, real quick. We show the 4 food groups right up here and also hotels. But what I like to tell people is on PACE, you can utilize it on any type of private development. We are not allowed to use PACE on any type of public facilities, say, for instance, police buildings or fire stations, or, sorry, if the judge was still here, I'd say the county courthouse can't do it on that. So if it's private, it'll probably qualify. All right, in terms of actual qualifying improvements, I like to tell people there's basically 3 buckets that you're looking at. You have the energy efficiency upgrades, which involves HVAC, LED lighting, cool roofs, etc. They're listed there. But also the next bucket is the water efficiency upgrades, low flow fixtures, toilets, etc. And one note here in that one of the first companies to utilize PACE was Simon Properties, and they utilized it on a portfolio of their malls. And they saw a huge benefit in terms of utilizing PACE on those developments. And then the last is the renewable energy components. And in Texas, we get a lot of calls regarding solar panels. In fact, Michael, in a few weeks, we're going to have a solar development in Denton, Texas, on a property that they're installing solar. So we've got that to look forward to. Okay, I love this slide. I'm in commercial real estate and finance, and I really enjoy this, but you see the assumptions on the left-hand side, but what I'd like you to concentrate on are the 2 actual charts here on the right-hand side. Basically, on a conventional loan, you're going to need a down payment. That's going to be an initial cash outflow. And then in this instance, you have an annual payment that's more than your actual utility savings. So Throughout the term of the loan, you're going to have a negative cash outflow. You don't even hit break even until between years 11 and 12. So that's a long time period not to see any type of increase in your cash flow on your property. Conversely, with PACE, from day one, remember I said you could finance up to 100% of your soft and hard costs associated with the assessment. So right off the bat, you do not have that initial down payment cash outflow. And then based upon these assumptions, your savings are above your actual debt service. So you're going to be cash flow positive. And in commercial real estate, that's huge. That's really important to have that as a component. The capital stack. What I tell people here is, listen, on large developments, well, large and small, where can I utilize PACE? Where can I utilize this type of an assessment financing? Well, you see on your left-hand side, you have your cost of debt, your senior position, then you have cost of mezz, and then pref equity. Those are much more expensive than the 7% here. And I'm not quoting any type of rates right now, but this is conceptual. But it allows you, the property owner, to take out some of that more expensive debt. Overall, what are you seeing? You're seeing your weighted average cost of capital decline, in this instance, 8.8% to 8.1%. That's a great thing. All right, retroactive PACE. You're sitting there going, goodness gracious, Glenn, if you would have come to me about 6 months ago, I could have really utilized this. Have no fear. In Texas, we are allowed to go do a 24 look back period from CO, from your certificate of occupancy. And you need to show that you were looking for energy savings, but that's easy because you can go back to your architect or your construction person, look at the drawings, look at the assumptions. You can probably show that you were looking at trying to save on energy. An example is on a hotel property. You opened the doors last year, second quarter 2020. I guarantee you didn't meet your pro forma, right? So what does PACE allow you to do? It allows you to pull out some of that expensive money that you had in your original capital stack and replace it with a cheaper PACE financing.
Hey Glenn, how does a developer, property owner go back on the retroactive side and find out how much they qualify for?
That's a great question, Michael, but we can go up to about 25%, up to 25% of the capital stack on properties. So thanks for that question. Show me the sustainability and I'll show you the money. Basically, what we're trying to tell people is, listen, sustainability is so important in the crux of this program, but also we have the ability to save money and also create economic development. Benefits of PACE. Well, what are the benefits to Denton County? I think we've also heard from the judge, economic development, creating jobs. When these projects come online, you need to have them built, right? Whether if it's a renovation or new construction. And that puts a lot of contractors to work, and that's a great thing. It helps counties and cities meet their sustainability goals. I know that everybody has them, and this is another way to hit that target. And again, going back, it does not utilize any type of taxpayer dollars, 100% private financing. The judge had mentioned about that project, and here it is. It's the Mark at Denton, and it's a 316 unit apartment complex that's still being developed, but they have a first phase, I believe, that's open, and they're leasing out right now. Great development. But when you look at, okay, Glenn, what is PACE really providing? Well, look at that. 13% on electricity savings, but what does it translate to? It's saving, the equivalent of saving on electricity on powering over 86 homes. That's a number that you and I can relate to. Same as with the water savings, over 27 million bottles of water saved. That's something to really be proud of. And this is on just one project.
So what was the PACE component on this particular project?
Michael, the PACE component on this one was 6.5 million. So it's a fairly large amount. Upcoming projects in Denton, we have several. We have about 9 active projects, including that solar project I mentioned to you, upwards of almost 20 million in the PACE component. And then we also are looking at various property types and also various sizes. Some people say, well, you're probably only going after the big, large developments. No, we've got some as small as around 500,000 to about 5.5 million currently on the drawing board. I mean, we're even looking at, there's one property, it's actual church that's looking at possibly using PACE. So it goes across the spectrum.
So what is, real quick, Glenn, as
Yep.
far as our activity compared to other jurisdictions' activities, how does that look from not only your administrative perspective, because we did get a question, I'll blend this in on this one as well. We did get a question from Dan Rosenfield at the City of Denton. Is Lone Star the only program admin for this program in the county, or are there others we would choose from? As of now, Dan, this is the only program with the county, and Glenn can go into a little bit of that. I think there's 2 administrators statewide. Glenn, is that correct?
That's correct. That's correct. But every county has the ability to choose either 1 or 2 or whatever. It's, again, we emphasize it's your program. It's not our program, Lone Star PACE's program, or anybody else's. And that's why it's up to you to figure out, okay, do we want 1, 2 administrators, or again, other variables associated with the program. It's up to the county or city to tell us we feel comfortable about this, and this is what we're comfortable about utilizing PACE for. I think I already went through this. At the end of the day, Michael, I hope everybody that's been watching takes away that PACE equals sustainability, but PACE also equals economic development. It meets counties like Denton to meet their sustainability goals. It creates jobs. It is just a great win-win-win for all involved. Yeah. So with that, I'd be happy more to take any other questions that have come in through the chat.
And we do have a couple that have come in, Glenn, and I'll get to those in just 1 second. I did want to touch on that question I just asked. As far as the first one, how our activity is compared to other jurisdictions that.
I'm sorry, I didn't answer that, but I got to tell you, Michael, based upon y'all's advocacy and you being so involved, having this webinar, y'all have a lot of activity. You really do, as compared to other counties, because I think you're committed to this program and you're involved, and that's what it takes. I think it takes getting the word out, people hearing it's not just the PACE acronym, but what is it really involved? What can we use it for? When I talk to a lot of developers and owners of commercial real estate, they go, and I think the judge said it best, wow, I wish I could have had it, on my development. So I think it's just getting the word out, and with y'all are doing a fantastic job. So can't thank you enough.
So there's a question here from Mindy White, and this is one I've heard a few times, and I've actually asked Glenn myself. I thought the state statute was written such that it could not be on properties that were developed from greenfields.
Well, that's a very good question. Now, the statute actually says these assessments, PACE assessments, cannot be utilized for facilities of undeveloped lot. And that's been a big discussion point within the PACE community, because basically what that means is, okay, one, the statute did not define what that means. So we actually went to the KPT, Keeping Pace in Texas, has their views in that in order to utilize PACE, you have to have a vertical structure on there currently and or in the past on the tax rolls. That's one. That's the conservative route. There's also the ability to have, well, we had Bracewell, our attorney, say, listen, try to figure out where can we find the definition of a undeveloped lot. Well, we found in the water statutes that there was undeveloped property, which included undeveloped lots. But it said that if you have a developed lot constitutes if you have water, sewer, or drainage on that property. We were in discussions with some more attorneys and they said, y'all are missing the boat. It specifically states facilities. And what does facilities mean? It means basically the public side, the public improvements on that side of the meter. So there's basically 3 different scenarios. And again, I go back to, it's your program. The statute doesn't specifically define, what's an, undeveloped lot. And then we say, listen, it's up to you. Tell us what you're comfortable with and we'll go from there. So there's 3 scenarios, basically.
Yeah. I know that's a question that I brought up initially when learning about the program. And then I know y'all have gotten more and more clarification, and you know how sometimes working with attorneys, everyone's going to have a different translation of the language of that.
Right.
So, Lynn, Michael, as an EDC leader, what do you like most about CPACE? How are you using it? Well, Lynn, I'll say this. As an economic development professional, I think your goal and job is to connect people with resources to make a project happen. And so that's really what this is. We're just spreading the word, especially with all of our communities. We have over 900,000 people in population in Denton County. We have over 40 communities that are growing daily. And we want people to have another tool in their belt, per se, to make a project happen. And this is what this does. I know I've talked to a lot of people about PACE financing, and they're just not familiar with it. They just don't know how to even know. They don't know where to start. Maybe they've heard of the acronym, but they don't really know what it means. Really, that's what we're here for, is to spread the word about it. We've been working with Glenn Silva, Lee McCormick over there, and Ryan McCormick on how we can do that. And the webinar that we're doing this morning is exactly that thing. So we'll continue doing this. We're going to plan on doing this at least a couple times a year so we can continue educating not only our ED directors and our ED professionals in the county, but also our brokers, our real estate agents, our developers, construction firms, all of the above, so they can pass this on to help make projects happen on that capital stack that Glenn mentioned earlier. Yeah,
we can't thank you enough, Michael, and everyone at the county has been wonderful to work with. And you know what? It's all about getting the word out and educating the people out there, because it's a wonderful tool, and I think that it's going to be utilized more and more as we go along.
Sure. Well, if we don't have any more questions, doesn't look like there's any more new questions in the chat or the Q&A. We'll go ahead and wrap it up. Feel free to reach out to myself, Michael Talley. My email is michael.talley@dentoncounty.gov. Glenn has his email up on the screen, gsilva@lonestarpace.com. So feel free to reach out to Lone Star Pace. They can walk you through the steps. How do you share this with your developers, your brokers, etc. And we appreciate everyone jumping on this morning. And like I said, feel free to reach out if you have any questions, and we'll continue learning about on PACE together.
Thank you so much.
Y'all have a great weekend. Thanks so much.
Thank you.